Why do you always have to convert money into hard currency? How many times we are just paying commissions? This is absolutely not needed in today's world when we have digital payment solutions. So we will soon see integration of that. I think the future of Asia and future of the world in many ways depends on India and Indonesia. So why should we follow what some other country is saying? Why can't India and Indonesia draw up the norms and rules of the world order? That is what is my dream for our future relations. There is a slogan that we use in the embassy, which my Prime Minister also used, was we are Mitra Salamania, we are partners forever. The future will largely be determined by how we work more closely together. In many, many areas, there are solutions which Indonesia has given to the world. There are solutions which India has given to the world.
Indonesia and India are two big powers, not only in Asia, but also on the global stage. The recent state visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, not only to Jakarta to meet President Prabowo, but also the two leaders visited Prambanan Temple, resulting on the partnership agreement on Prambanan restoration, proves that the two countries shares not only economic partnership, but also values and also aspirations for greater partnership. Today, we have the privilege to discuss more about Indonesia and India partnership with the Ambassador of India to Indonesia, His Excellency, Mr. Sandeep Chakravorty. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for your time and also for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me and to your program. I'm very happy to be on your show and to share with your audience some details about the growing India-Indonesia relations.
Okay, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently visited Indonesia on early of July, discussing many sectors relationship with President Prabowo Subianto, and also visited Prambanan Temple, talking more about future relations, strategic sectors that can develop further between the two countries. How do you see today's relations between Indonesia and India, and why does it matter today, Your Excellency?
Well, I am very, very delighted and satisfied with the visit of Prime Minister Modi. Prime Minister Modi was very touched and deeply appreciates the warm welcome he received in Indonesia. I believe that the government of Indonesia, under the leadership of President Prabowo, went out of his way to not only organize his program in Indonesia, which included meetings at Istana Merdeka, but also a talk or a speech by the Prime Minister at the Parliament of Indonesia, then a community event which was addressed by both the leaders to an audience of almost 4,000 people, and of course the very iconic visit to Prambanan Temple. I believe that India and Indonesia relations, after the visit of President Prabowo to India last year as chief guest of our Republic Day, and then the reciprocal visit by Prime Minister Modi just a few weeks back, has taken our relationship to a new level. And I will explain to you later in our conversation what I mean by that. But in your opening remarks, you mentioned the Global South and geopolitics. I think the need of today, in a world which is seeing turmoil, is that these two pillars of stability, India and Indonesia, should work very closely together. We are democratic countries and we are strongly performing economies. We are registering high growth. We are young populations. I think when the two countries work together, it gives a very strong message to the world.
Yeah, the two countries, our countries have very close relations, ranging from trade, investment, digital technology, defense, and also education. How do you see our countries' relationship and partnership evolving, especially in the 21st century?
Well, you see, you are very right that India and Indonesia have very cordial and friendly relations. But I think our leaders also realize that it is not enough to have friendly relations. We should leverage that friendliness or our close partnership to the benefit or for the benefit of our peoples. Because what is the point of having good relations if we do not have economic engagement, or we do not work with each other or support each other? I think that feeling and that understanding has now gone deep into the systems of both India and Indonesia. And I think some of the outcomes that we got during the visit, both of not only of this visit but also President Prabowo's visit, are very future oriented, are very specific in terms of benefits to the peoples, in terms of technology, in terms of education, and new areas of cooperation. So we are now entering into a phase which will bring India and Indonesia closer together. It will integrate our two economies. We are big trading partners. We are investing partners. We are politically aligned. Both India and Indonesia have similar foreign policies and outlooks. Bebas dan active of Indonesia. We believe in strategic autonomy, multi-alignment, multipolar Asia. I think these are also values or foreign policy outlook of Indonesia even. So I don't think there is any global issue in which India and Indonesia view the world differently. I think it's a very rare occasion where two powers are so aligned to each other. And now I think we are making that alignment of work for the benefit of the people. And I am very, very much convinced that this visit will propel our relations to a new level. And I must confess that after Prime Minister Modi left, I have not rested. There is now pressure on me and my colleagues and teams both in India and Indonesia to deliver on the promises the leaders made to the peoples, and we are already working on some of them. Yesterday, I met with the Higher Education Minister, Dr. Brian Giuliarto, and we are already talking of how we will work on the education sector. So there are several such initiatives, and as the days roll by, you will see the decisions that the two leaders took are now being implemented.
As you also mentioned before that not only our countries but also many countries are now facing big challenges, not only the geopolitical tension but also the slowing down of global economic growth. Do you agree that today is the time of everyone, of us, of India and Indonesia to create a stronger partnership? And in what sectors, in what terms that you think is very important right now?
Well, I fully agree that India and Indonesia should work together. You see, we are big markets. We are a population. India is a population of 1.4 billion people. Indonesia is a population of almost 300 million people. So we are, in a way, maybe 20% of the world population. We are strong performing economies. Indonesia is growing at the rate of 5%. India is growing at the rate of 6.5 to 7%. So these economies are becoming bigger by the day, and unfortunately, our economic engagement doesn't reflect this reality. Our trading partners are other countries, or we deal more with other geographies. We are only 160 kilometers from Sabang. Okay, we are neighbors. We are maritime neighbors. Our sea lanes of communication are the same. Our ocean is the same. Our trajectory, since thousands of years, our people have traded with each other, come and gone to each other's country. So we, in the modern and contemporary context, have to recreate that close ties. And I think several initiatives are there, and I will mention a few, which will show that how India and Indonesia can work closer together. I'll give you an example. We are now almost about to clinch this integration of our digital payments ecosystem. why should we not be able to scan QRIS in India? Or why should a tourist who comes to Bali or Jakarta or Lake Toba not be able to scan the QR code and pay in Indian rupees? Okay, this has been a barrier in promoting greater people to people. Why do you always have to convert money into hard currency? So if you see a person who comes to Indonesia from India, he has to convert his rupees into US dollars. Then he comes to Indonesia, he converts his US dollars to rupiah. Then he spends the money in rupiah. Then whatever is left, he converts back to US dollars. Then he takes it to India, converts it back to rupees. How many times we are just paying commissions? This is absolutely not needed in today's world when we have digital payment solutions. So we will soon see integration of that. We will also see local currency payment systems where if somebody wants to import from India, he doesn't have to pay in US dollars or euros or yuan, he can pay in rupiah. And similarly, if we want to buy from Indonesia, we can pay in rupees in India, and the banks will reconcile the two currencies. These are needed in today's world where there is so much of competitiveness, where supply chains are getting disrupted. We need to do more with each other. I think this is the message I derive from the visit of my Prime Minister, that from the top, the signal is very clear that India and Indonesia has to do more with each other. We need not be affected so much by what happens in the global markets. If a large part of our economic output is related to Indonesia or Indonesia's to India, then I think it protects us from the turmoil, currency fluctuations, oil shock, fertilizer shock, food scarcity. If we deal with each other more, I think we are protected from these shocks. And I think that is the realization more and more people in both India and Indonesia are having. And our task is to work towards that.
Your Excellency, may I ask, you mentioned about digital payment and also local currency cooperation between Indonesia and India. Has it started?
It is not started, but we were hoping that it will be announced during the visit of Prime Minister. But I think the discussions are at the last stage now. So both the leaders directed the teams that they should quickly complete this task. But one interesting element of the discussion or outcomes was that we have been talking about digital public infrastructure, which is how technology and digitalization can help the people. In that context, we have something in India known as Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC. That has inspired the creation of the Indonesian Open Network. So that network has now been announced and launched, and very soon pilots will be unrolled, and that will give a platform to your MSMEs all over Indonesia to enter the digital commerce space. At the moment, this space is dominated by huge platforms where you have to pay large amount of subscription or transaction fees. This open network brings down those barriers. So watch this space. It will become very, very active, where Indonesian open network will start to play an important role in the e-commerce space of Indonesia.
I think this is very interesting because many Indians visiting Indonesia and also Indonesia are very much likely to visit India, visiting Taj Mahal and everywhere. So, Mr. Ambassador, our two countries have both traditionally pursued independent and balanced foreign policy in this increasingly polarized global environment. How do you think we can, make the partnership stronger while also maintaining our autonomy?
It's a very relevant question. We both India and Indonesia are very proud of their non-aligned or strategic autonomy. We don't want to enter into any alliances. President Prabowo's statement that 1,000 friends too less and one enemy too many, I think resonates very well with India. And but in this context, I want to mention is that it is not enough to be strategically autonomous. We should be able to leverage that. And I think the best leveraging of that happens if both India and Indonesia work together. We do not believe in putting all our eggs in one basket. We do not believe in following anybody. We only follow somebody as long as it is in our national interest. So in that scenario, I think when India and Indonesia work together without the strings of an alliance or being part of a camp, I think it is more acceptable to the people. There is never will be any criticism of why India working closely with Indonesia, or because our DNA is of being very independent minded. As long as it serves the interest of our people, our governments follow a particular foreign policy. And when you are talking of multi-alignment, we need a multipolar Asia. Indonesia is a pole in Asia, and it is to our interest that Indonesia becomes a strong pole. And similarly, I would believe that it is in Indonesia's interest to see India as a strong pole in the region. And if you have a multipolar Asia, we will have a multipolar world. So I believe that from the foreign policy perspective, we are very clear. Both countries have similar views. Now the challenge is to implement that perspective or that policy into real programs where our economic engagement, tourism, connectivity, let's say people to people contact, education, these pillars get more active and strong. Otherwise, just talking about strategic autonomy without strategic incorporation or strategic cooperation doesn't make much sense. So I think we are now entering that phase of strategic cooperation where India and Indonesia will work more and more with each other, and our relationship will be more direct, not necessarily through other capitals. I think that is the phase in which we are entering, or we have entered.
The Indo-Pacific is becoming one of the most important theater stage in the world right now. What role can Indonesia and also India play to make sure that the Indo-Pacific is a stable region, open and also inclusive?
Yes, it's a very valid observation. You see, in the Indo-Pacific, we are strong partners of Indonesia. We also believe in ASEAN centrality. We also believe that the sea lanes of communication should remain open. We have a partnership in the Indo-Pacific known as Quad, which also aims to support our Indo-Pacific outlook. That is, this space should remain open to trade, commerce, and other interactions. And we will do whatever is needed to support that. We saw the perils of nationalization of international waterways, which has happened in the Gulf of Hormuz. Indonesia is home to one of the busiest sea lanes of communication, the Malacca Straits, and several choke points that you all are aware of. It is not in our interest or Indonesia's interest to see any disruption of international trade. And we will work very closely with our partners to make sure that these remain open to international trade, because in that lies our food and energy security. And these are very, very important for both countries and also for the region. So I think India wants to work with all partners to make sure that this region remains free of conflict, and we will talk to everybody that is necessary to make sure that this region of Southeast Asia, ASEAN, Indonesia, Malacca Straits is free of conflict. So we have a stake in the region. We are maritime neighbors of the region, and we are very, very conscious that Indonesia has an important role, and we want to work with Indonesia in this.
Economic ties between our countries is very strong in trade, investment. Also, you mentioned about tourism and also creative economy, because tens of millions of Indonesian people, including me, I grew up watching Kuch Kuch Hotahe and also Muhabbatin. I think every Indonesian person know Mr. Shah Rukh Khan, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, Mrs. Aishwarya Rai. But for the future, what sectors do you think will drive stronger cooperation between our countries in terms of economic sectors?
Well, I feel that in certain areas we have natural coherence. and one is education. And I'm happy to inform your viewers that one of India's most prestigious educational institution, the Indian Institute of Management, has decided to open a campus in your special economic zone in Malang. Malang itself is a educational hub which has so many universities, thousands of students go to study in Malang. So Malang will soon have a very, very prestigious institution, and the campus of IIM Bangalore in Singosari. One of the outcomes of the discussions, you see, what is interesting is that the two leaders talked about future areas of cooperation, and they have actually laid down a roadmap for us to follow. That okay, you had so many MOUs and agreements and so many announcements. What is next? So they have laid down for us where we want to work next. And I am happy to inform your viewers that in one area where we are planning to bring Indian excellence is in education, in technology. So you must be aware that in India we have something known as the Indian Institute of Technology, IITs. We are working very closely with the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders to bring the IIT ecosystem of education, research, innovation to Indonesia. And you will soon find that real outcomes on the ground, where the IIT way of innovation and education enters in partnership with Indonesian organizations. So that is where I see one pathway of working closely with Indonesia. The second area I believe is in healthcare. Indonesia is opening up its healthcare sector to foreign doctors, foreign hospitals. Already we have some initiatives, but we will now work closely with our partners in Indonesia for greater training of doctors and nurses and medical professionals. In fact, one such MOU was signed during this visit. So you will find greater cooperation in pharmaceuticals, in healthcare. So these, I think, are new areas where we can work together with Indonesia. We are also looking at cooperation in the space sector. We have some ongoing cooperation. We want to strengthen our cooperation in the space sector. So these are a few areas which come to my mind straight away, where you will find greater cooperation between India and Indonesia.
You mentioned about the partnership of education in technology and innovation. That sounds very great, because it seems like 90% of technology company leaders are Indian.
Yeah, exactly. I think that actually is an example to be inspired by, and many of them are actually from IITs. So it's a very top-rate institution, and if they can come and work with partners in Indonesia, I think you see, Indonesian students spend a lot of money acquiring education abroad. I heard some years back that it's almost $10 billion or something. If a part of that can be retained in the country, I think it will be very good for Indonesia. So with that perspective, not only in education, even in healthcare, we want to work closely with Indonesia.
So how can we move from the conventional trade relations into long-term partnership in, can I say, like every sectors with India?
Yes. You see, we have in India something known as, or a policy of the government known as self-reliant India. It's called Atmanirbhar Bharat in our language. But similarly and parallelly, you have in Indonesia the policy of downstreaming, which has been implemented over the last few years, where Indonesia has decided that it will not export only raw materials, it will process those raw materials. That is a very solid decision and sound decision from Indonesia's perspective. Our challenge has been, how can we reconcile these two the policies? And we have found ways. There are material and goods that are needed in India, but we are very conscious that we do not want to buy it in the form of raw materials. So Indian companies have now decided to invest in these sectors in Indonesia. In fact, two of them were announced, those initiatives were announced during this visit. One, you will see an investment coming in the stainless steel sector. Indonesia has abundant amount of nickel, but we have to manufacture stainless steel products in Indonesia. But India is a growing market, and then we can produce in Indonesia for global markets. That will create facility, it will create employment, jobs, technology transfer. And again, in rare earths also, we are looking to work with Indonesia. We are also looking to work with Indonesia in manufacturing of fertilizers. We are looking at possibilities that there is surplus gas available in Indonesia. Rather than selling gas, can we make fertilizers for this market as well as for exports? So these are 3 or 4 areas which immediately come to my mind where Indian investments will be welcome in Indonesia.
For young Indonesians and also young Indians who will carry the future partnership between our countries, what do you see about the opportunities emerging for our young people in terms of cultural exchange? Or you've mentioned about education, technology, innovation, but also other areas.
No, I think it's a very valid point, and you started the discussion by mentioning President and Prime Minister visiting Brahmavan Temple. You see, Indonesia has a policy of creating 10 Balis because Bali is getting a lot of stress from tourism. So the idea is to reduce the stress by creating new destination. I think India can play a big role in that. Opening up new destinations in Indonesia, because Indian tourists feel very comfortable in Indonesia. You are very close to India. The challenge is more connectivity between India and Indonesia. And I think if people travel to each other's countries, it opens up opportunities. It opens up our minds. We see how Indians see how Indonesia is, Indonesians see how India is, and both are young countries. So educational exchange, more students going from India to Indonesia and Indonesia to India, then setting up of campuses. I think these all will build that momentum where we will look more closely at each other. India, for anything that you seek, India should be the first choice. Similarly, for many things that we seek in India, Indonesia should be the first choice in the menu. In the drop-down menu, Indonesia should come first, not let's say some other countries when you're selecting options. I think that is what we aspire to work on, and the kind of response that we are getting from Indonesia and Indonesian government is quite amazing. And I am very confident that after this visit, you will find new areas in which India and Indonesia are cooperating.
Mr. Ambassador, we know that many Indians are doing business in Indonesia. We've talked about challenges from geopolitical and also global, but Indonesia is also facing several challenges inside. In your experience doing helping Indians doing business and investment in Indonesia, is there any expectations maybe or about the economic investment climate in Indonesia? What can we do to make it more conducive?
Well, it's a very valid question, and there are challenges. I will not deny that. But I don't think they are specific to Indian businesses. I think they are generic in nature, and it is then the ingenuity of the investor and the embassy sometimes to find solutions. And I must say that I must compliment the Indonesian government that whenever we face problems or we take challenges to your ministers or your government authorities, they are very responsive, and they work with us. We work jointly to solve. And I don't think it is an Indonesia specific issue. Investors and companies face challenges across the globe, and also there is this urge on many economies to protect domestic industry. So sometimes that urge or that tendency to protect domestic industries can become a barrier for foreign investors. So it's not something unnatural, it is natural. And we will have to work more closely with the Indonesian authorities to resolve those issues. There are TKDN issues, for instance. Even whenever we raise TKDN issues, we find a pathway, we find the solutions. The idea is not to, when you face challenges, not to be quiet about it or pack up and leave. The idea should be to resolve those challenges. And in any big economy where you're growing and you want investors to come in, but there are rules and regulations. For instance, downstreaming which has been implemented in the last few years has had an impact on foreign investors. They had to change their game plan. Earlier you could import, let's say, nickel ore, but now you can't. You have to import processed nickel. Similarly, some of the policy initiatives that have been taken in the recent past, the formation of Danantara and others, these have changed the playbook. And companies which will succeed and survive have to understand that. And I think our companies are agile. They do that. Also, some of the challenges are not because of Indonesia, but these are global trends. Some technologies become obsolete, some products become obsolete. The conflicts in the world has created issues. Supply chains have got disrupted, and this kind of challenges are being faced by many countries. And of course, they are in Indonesia also. But I am very optimistic about the investment climate in Indonesia, and I believe that it has opened up opportunities for countries such as India.
Indonesia and India share not only years, not only decades, but centuries of relations. In your vision, what's the next chapter for Indonesia and India in the future?
No, as I mentioned before, I see India and Indonesia using their positions as powers in the region, working more closely together, doing things together, coming out with initiatives together. Why should we follow what some other country is saying? Why can't India and Indonesia draw up the norms and rules of the world order? That is what is my dream for our future relations. We need to work together. We are always subscribing to initiatives and ideas coming out from other countries. It's time that India and Indonesia them jointly comes out with ideas and initiatives. And I think if we start doing that, then the vision of our leaders will be realized. That is how I look at our relations.
The last but not least, Mr. Ambassador, what message do you want to convey to Indonesian people, Indonesian who wants to do business in India, and also Indian people currently doing business and investment in Indonesia?
Well, I want to say that we are very fortunate that we belong to India and Indonesia, and we are neighbors. We have big markets. We have young population. We are fast-growing economies. I think the future of Asia and future of the world in many ways depends on India and Indonesia. So, look with optimism at each other, try to find solutions, partners, and as I always say, there is a slogan that we use in the embassy, which my Prime Minister also used, was we are Mitra Salamania, we are partners forever. It's not that our relationship started yesterday or 10 or 20 or 50 years back. For centuries we have been working together, and it has been in the present, and I think the future will largely be determined by how we work more closely together in many areas. There are solutions which Indonesia has given to the world. There are solutions which India has given to the world. And I think, as President Prabowo says, if something works in India at that level of population scale, it may also work in Indonesia. So some of the ideas that have been implemented, particularly in the digital sphere and digital empowerment of people, those can easily be implemented in Indonesia. And I see a trend towards that. So I am very optimistic of strong ties between India and Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for your time, for your insights. Thank you for your time for Jakarta Globe Corner.
Thank you.
We hope for stronger partnership between Indonesia and also India. That's our interview with the ambassador of India to Indonesia in Jakarta Globe Corner. I'm Wahyu Setiwati signing off. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you.